than 350 companies operating in more than 102 countries will also take part in the gathering. The conference sessions will showcase the latest technologies in the field of medicine, as well as initiatives that support the African ExCon as a sustainable platform that connects international healthcare partners together. In this regard, the conference is set to offer a unique opportunity for global representatives of the healthcare sector to explore innovative medical supplies and equipment, as well as other medical fields. The initiatives to be discussed during the conference include the Egyptian Cervical Cancer Elimination Initiative that aims at protecting Egyptian and African women from this type of cancer, in addition to the Egyptian Presidential Initiative for the treatment of spinal muscular atrophy, or the SMA cases, launched in mid-2021. Sessions of the conference will also discuss various topics including medical tourism, public health and population challenges. The Africa Health ExCon will be held under the auspices and inshallah with the attendance of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The conference will stimulate Egypt's leadership role in line with its strategic vision and will support the infrastructure development strategies implemented in the African countries to boost the quality of healthcare services offered to their peoples. Over the recent years, Egypt has repeatedly affirmed its readiness to support the healthcare system in Africa, particularly during the coronavirus pandemic. Well, last year also Egypt cast the foundation stone for Magdi Yaoub Global Heart Foundation's Heart Center in Rwanda, capital of Kigali, and also inaugurated the AFRI Egypt Medical Center for Healthcare in Uganda. Egypt, a producer of coronavirus vaccines, and repeatedly affirmed plans to export vaccines to African countries after reaching self-sufficiency. Now we are witnessing the arrival of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to El Manara, where he is going to honor the first AFCON, the first Africa rather, Health ExCon with his attendance. The first edition, it's going to start today, the 5th of June, and will continue for 3 days. Ladies and gentlemen, we are watching live footages from El Manara, where President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived to witness the activities of the first Africa Health ExCon.
العالم في الفترة الأخيرة، ولكن استطاعت مصر بالقيادة السياسية الحكيمة أن هي تحقق خطى متقدمة جدا في مكافحة مثل هذه الأمراض من خلال الإجراءات الوقائية والاحترازية اللي اتخذتها الدولة المصرية. أيضا كان هناك شفافية في المعدلات الخاصة بأرقام الإصابات الخاصة بالفيروس وأيضا حالات الشفاء منها. أيضا استطاعت مصر أن هي تصنع اللقاحات الخاصة بعلاج هذه الأمراض وخاصة
these viruses and coronaviruses vaccines, and to export it to numerous African countries. And this has been proven by numerous medical international organizations, out of which is WHO. Also, one of the many challenges was the coronavirus pandemic and the reform steps that's been taken to confront this pandemic, and how the Egyptian country has been able to do it through the numerous economic reform by the Egyptian bodies has also enabled to mitigate the repercussions of the corona pandemic, especially the economic repercussions. But this also has helped to have a methodology in place which has focused on the importance of the medical sector and how to upscale and how to rely on the advanced technologies in that regards, where lots of physicians, researchers and scholars have been endeavoring their efforts to find a solution and to find a gate out of this pandemic that has threatened the whole world. And they are all gathered today through this African Health Exhibition Conference, where they are combined together to find numerous innovative solutions for combining their efforts and endeavors together. And for sure, this will have its own positive results on the medical sector and populations. For sure, this is the first of its kind ExCon that will witness the launching of numerous initiatives that will be presented through this conference, on top of which is the Women and Child Wellness Initiative, and to secure African Egyptian women. And in this regard, we will have also the presidential initiative for the treatment of spinal muscular atrophy. And maybe we have recently witnessed the Egyptian state providing treatments to numerous spinal muscular atrophy patients. Also, we'll talk about the tourism health, and maybe lots of countries have been already directing their attention to this kind of tourism due to the increase of demand, and for sure due to the great industrial revolution impact. And as you know, Egypt does have lots of resources and the privileges with the mining resources that help in this kind of tourism, and this is why we attract numerous tourism from all around the world. And also Egypt does have numerous resorts that also help in providing this kind of tourism. Also, let's talk about the significance of this African Health ExCon that is hosted by Egypt. This conference will promote and showcase the Egyptian leadership role in Africa, as it comes in line with the Egyptian strategy, in addition to its participation in executing the Egyptian and the African steps in regards to the infrastructure of providing the medical services provided to African citizens. Also, this conference, which combines all of the health representatives under one umbrella, to provide a unique opportunity to explore what could be provided in numerous related and concerned centers. And in this framework, Egypt has also been held by this conference towards being one of those transformational hubs to provide all of the recent technologies in numerous medical sectors in African continent. Meanwhile, the African-Egyptian ties are historical and persistent, and Egypt has been able, through the past 8 years, under the leadership of His Excellency, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, to retrieve its role in the continent of Africa, to get back its political and economic role, and to also construct the common phase and to help development of the African continent. So since his chairman of the position, Egypt has been able to provide numerous success in the numerous sectors, for sure, also the Egyptian securing sector. So the African Health Exhibition Conference, in its first edition, does have a significant role, especially in line of His Excellency's guidelines and his keenness to auspice this conference and his presence. So this helped the conference to be having a significant regional and international role, as it's become now an African gate towards innovation and trade, to become a conference between all of the world experts, especially the African medical experts, annually. So we will have presentation for the recent technologies and what the medical companies have been provided recently for the sake and interest of the medical sector. It also provides a unique educational opportunity where we have all of the researchers and scholars through the numerous researches provided and workshops for the sake of humanity. So Egypt has always taken the proactive steps in this specific regard, and we've taken very rapid and relentless steps to retrieve our strategic role in the African continent and to get back to the old track, especially in terms of the collaboration between Egypt and Africa in the medical files. We have also got lots of building capacity protocols for the young physicians and to have scholarships in the African countries. Also, Egypt has helped numerous African countries to send numerous vaccines, especially the coronavirus vaccines. We have also witnessed support to send the numerous medical convoys in numerous medical specifications to the numerous African continents. Africa Health, which is the main scope of this conference, and the continent axis for innovation and trade in Egypt and Africa, organized by UPA, the Unified Procurement Authority, and the Medical Technological Managing Authority, does play its pivotal role in the development and to follow in the recent advancements on the global arena in this medical and health sector, which showcase its significance recently, especially with the outbreak of the corona pandemic and also some other diseases that our researchers and scientists usually try to find solutions for. And as been stated before, also the cervical cancer is one of the main files that has got great focus through numerous researches to maintain the wellness of our women and girls from being infected and subjected to this disease that may require a root cause elimination medication. Also, you were talking about also the treatment of spinal muscular atrophy. So talking about the numerous diseases and that Egypt has managed in this sector to work on numerous researches and has become one of the role models in confronting diseases, and to have international acknowledgement from WHO and other World Health Organizations. Egypt has been able to confront the coronavirus, and in parallel, Egypt has also been taking relentless steps to defeat virus C. So Egypt has become one of the first countries to achieve its role in eliminating the viruses through the 100 million initiative, and His Excellency the President has been able through this initiative to provide free medications to around 2 million Egyptian citizens. His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt. Good morning, welcome everyone. Please be seated. Your Excellency, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished attendees, allow me in the beginning to quote from Ahmed Shawqi, where he was describing our continent of Africa, stating, Africa is part of our existence, just similar to our decades. Yes, our continent of Africa has got this shape, but meanwhile, it has its strength with the linkage of its seeds, of its soils. And this linkage is proven not just through governments, but also through nations and populations, where we have the African population just hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with all of their capacities to have our continent is the greatest of the universe. Maybe part of the fruits of this linkage is this conference, the first edition Africa Health ExCon, which is unquestionably the translation for the integration and for utilizing the capacities of our medical calibers to contribute greatly in minimizing the sector inside our continent. This is not just through the integrated of our medical calibers inside the continent, but has even got out borders with the collaboration of our FDI companies and those who are still having this passion to be part of investors of our continent. Subsequently, what we witnessed today is not just a health conference, it's just the seed for a fruitful future in the medical sector inside our great continent. So this conference is the main gate for the integration of medicine into our continent, and with the numerous languages and tongues, our African goals are still common. Now, I would like to call His Excellency Dr. Zidan, the head of UPA, to state his opening remarks. In the name of Almighty God, Your Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, distinguished attendees, it's with great honor to welcome you all in this unique event where the Unified Procurement Authority and the Medical Technological Managing Authority has hosted and organized according to the guidelines of His Excellency the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt guidelines in May 2021. These guidelines have included the coming that from 5th to 7th June 2020 to be regularly and annually conducted, and to call the conference as Africa Health ExCon, and to come in line with the Egyptian Vision 2030, which supports the African Union for development, and to be a dialogue hub between the African continental countries to share experiences, and to take into consideration collaboration with the world organizations to help put in solutions for medical issues on the African continental level, which comes in line with the African Union Agenda 2063 axis in its endeavor to provide SDGs for the African populations, which provides the main pillar of providing, securing wellness to African populations. And the UPA is one of the mechanisms adopted by the Egyptian government in the framework of developing the medical sector through playing its role in putting in place the medical technologies and promoting the governing measures in providing the needs and localizing the medications, and to provide the medical services according to the international standards, and to have equitable distribution to all citizens. And Your Excellency's guidelines to the UPA to have a strategic on securing the country in all of the needs of the medical supplies. In suppliers, medicines and laboratories have played great role in confronting Corona and to confront the Ukrainian-Russian repercussions that had greatly impacted the world supply chain. And one of the benefits of UPA to have the medical resources with best quality and least cost, and to be equitably distributed to the whole country through the governmental hospitals with the same exact quality that ensures the social equity to all of the Egyptian citizens, and with the increased demand globally towards regionalism, which has become a must, and particularly speaking between the African countries that have common history and common current situations and common milestones, the UPA has got a methodology that works on constructing regional relations, targeting, providing and achieving common integrated goals among the African people, particularly speaking in the field of medical suppliers and related industrializations. Undoubtedly, this ExCon is the first practical steps towards achieving the objective integration, and it's a gate to showcase the African countries which promote the intertrade. Moreover, providing the attracting of numerous FDI in the healthcare sector, which is the most growing sector among the economic sectors in the African continental countries. And here come some of the current statistics that we have inside our ExCon. Number of registered on the conference platform till this moment is 35,000. More than 350 local and global companies in numerous medical-related sectors, more than 800 speakers from all over the world, 280 sessions and scientific webinars, 24 scientific conferences, 20 workshops, accredited programs for the African and Egyptian trained physicians, and providing accreditation certificates from the UK Royal Surgical University. We will also conduct the greatest Cardio Alex in Alexandria from the 7th to the 6th of July for the medical specifications of this conference. And UPA wouldn't spare any efforts to have this successful conference to be a beacon for a future and for more projects and ventures to upscale the national medical and health care required suppliers and systems. And lastly, I would like to pay tribute to His Excellency the Prime Minister and all of our ministers and heads of the governmental organizations, universities and Egyptian scientific associations, and all of the participating companies locally and internationally, along with the organizers. I also would like to pay tribute to the African ministers of health and also the Arab ministers for their presence. And thank you so much for attentive listening. And for having full picture, and because the picture would give more impact than speaking, and because everyone looks forward to have a scaling levels in Africa. Now let's see together this movie where we have focused on the healthcare in Africa.
إفريقيا درة قارات العالم ومهد أول الحضارات. الأرض الحاضنة لما تبقى من مظاهر الحياة الحرة، وموطن لأكبر مزيج للأعراق واللغات والديانات على كوكبنا. تواجه قارتنا تحديات جسيمة فرضتها مساحتها الشاسعة وصحاريها الممتدة وعدد السكان الهائل وعقود من الخلل الهيكلي لإدارة مواردها بسبب الاستعمار أو التناحر الداخلي، وهو ما جعل منها موطنا لنحو 25% من الأمراض، والأكثر انتشارا للأمراض الوبائية والمعدية، والأعلى في معدلات الوفاة، إذ تستحوذ وحدها على نسبة 40% من إجمالي الحالات عالمياً. وتظل قارتنا رغم هذه المؤشرات الخطيرة الأقل حظاً في عدد الأطباء، والأكثر عجزاً بالمنشآت العلاجية، والأشد خللاً في انتظام سلاسل الإمدادات الطبية، ورغم تحقيق العديد من دولها نمواً اقتصادياً مذهل، إلا أن معظم دولها الناشئة لا تزال تواجه معوقات حالت دون تحقيق نمواً كافياً يمكنها من توفير رعاية صحية لائقة أو إقرار برامج تأمين صحي جيدة لمواطنيها. كما تمثل الدخول المنخفضة للغالبية العظمى من سكانها عائقاً أمام الحصول على رعاية صحية ملائمة، وتشكل الزيادة السكانية المتنامية تحدياً هائلاً، فمن المتوقع أن يتضاعف عدد السكان بحلول عام 2050 بمعدلات زيادة هي الأعلى عالمياً، ولا يمكن بأي حال من الأحوال مجابهة هذه المعضلات الجسيمة سوى بتضافر الجهود وإقرار سياسات تدعم الشراكة بين المجتمع الدولي والحكومات والشركات لضمان استدامة الاستثمارات في مجال الرعاية الصحية بالقارة.
إن الشراكة مع إفريقيا فرصة حقيقية لتحقيق المصالح المشتركة واستثمار رابح اقتصادياً وتنموياً.
وتنفيذاً لتوجيهات فخامة السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي بدعم التعاون الإنمائي وتعزيز حركة التجارة والاستثمار بين مصر ومحيطها الإفريقي، تقوم الهيئة المصرية للشراء الموحد والإمداد والتموين الطبي وإدارة التكنولوجيا الطبية اليوم بافتتاح المعرض والمؤتمر الطبي الأفريقي الأكبر والأهم أفريكا هيلث ExCon، والمقام تحت شعار بوابتك نحو الابتكار والتجارة، ليكون بمثابة المحور القاري للتجارة والاستثمار وأكبر منصة مستدامة في مجال الصحة بين الدول الإفريقية لتبادل الخبرات ومناقشة التحديات وإيجاد الحلول التي تضمن وصول الخدمات الطبية عالية الجودة والمتوافقة مع المعايير العالمية بجميع دول القارة. أفريكا هيلث ExCon، معا نبني مستقبلا أفضل.
التنمية في إفريقيا لن تكون
Development in Africa wouldn't have been without having real partnership between all the countries, and because it was a must for all African continents to share experiences for achieving the common milestones. Now I will call Minister Ali Abdel Ghaffar, the Minister of the Higher Education and Acting Minister for Housing and Health, and then we'll have a word for the Minister as known, the WHO Chef. In the name of Almighty God, Your Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, distinguished attendees, I'd like to thank you, Your Excellency, for attending this African Health ExCon. I also would like to pay tribute to the UPA and Dr. Bahadin Zidane, along with all of the teamwork that has been working for a year for having the well preparation for this great project under your own guidelines. Why Africa? Because Africa represents almost 16.7% of the world populations. So the world population is 7.9 billion, so Africa is 16.7%. But we do have challenges that Africa counters, and for sure Egypt as part of Africa. So these challenges affect the medical services whole the continent levels, represented in the education level, increase of population and poverty, and the hesitant political situation. So for those who may think that medical services just rely on hospitals and medical calibers, it actually a whole system starts from education, roads, investment, and stability of economy and policy. So here we got in poverty, 67% of African people live beyond the poor threshold, and 64% having less than $1 annually. So we have around great value of African continents suffer excessive poverty. In addition to the lack of educational platforms that we can get to more than 40% of literacy in all of the African continents, with around 60% of those escaping education. And Africa, just like other continents, suffers the increase of population, which is a great hinder towards in front of any development. Poverty is threatening more than any disease or any virus. And maybe if we have diseases that lead to fatality, but poverty does have numerous negative impacts on our African continent. 50% of those who are born beyond 5 years in the world who die in the world, most of them, they are in the African continent. So 50% of the world newborns who are dying, they are from Africa due to the respiratory diseases from AIDS, from diarrhea and other viral infections, and numerous diseases. Maybe the whole world focus on some diseases like like cancers and diabetic, and maybe beforehand we were just focusing on the viral infections, but now around 64% of those who lose their lives is due to the non-communicable diseases. So how can we expect to have such fragile hospitals to provide services to sick people, especially when we do not have medical services suppliers, and which is part of the human rights. If we're talking about human rights to have medicine, so this is also one of the fundamental rights. So less than 2% of what African continent receive from medicines is by its own and autonomous medication, and we just get around more than 98% from abroad. This is the situation that we have, and we are part of our African continent. However, Egypt just has been able to predict, and within the past 7 years, to find non-traditional solutions to deal with these crises where we can have in common. So here comes the Egyptian strategy for developing the medical system. Until this moment, we still study the restructuring of the system from numerous aspects. Now we will talk about what Egypt has taken and how Egypt can play its role in supporting the African continent through numerous experiments that are successful, and we hope that the African continent also will benefit from. The access that I will talk about is the infrastructure, the medical calibers, and the medical services. When we talk about a strategy related to medication, so we should have well-equipped hospitals. We should also have well-trained physicians, nurses, and assistants who are well-trained, along with medical services that can cope the infrastructure investments that took place. This is the system that any development may rely on. If we will talk about infrastructure, Egypt has invested in the past 7 years 300% of its expenditures. So we were 33 billion, we've reached to 108 billion. This is the level of investment in this sector. 196 billion Egyptian pounds has been invested in the past 7 years. Again, we state these figures to make sure that the country hasn't only invested in the agriculture, transport, and industrial sectors, but also great part of investment has been done in education and in health, in the past 7 years. So the Egyptian state was working on all of the sectors with similar and equitable shares. So IMF has stated that Egypt is greatly investing. If we'll talk about medical sector infrastructure, so there is no governorate in Egypt hasn't witnessed upscaling or new constructions or development for infrastructure. So there is 55 billion Egyptian pounds in the past few years. And for sure what we have achieved through UPA, this is a real change in the organizational systems related to the medical systems that should be available for the success of the medical sector. We would take some examples, like Nasser institution that has been ratified to be a medical center where we can get 1,112 clinic and intensive cares and 100 intensive cares, along with 85 incubators, along with operational rooms, very advanced. So we have the transformation of 85 fittings from an institution that's providing annual services to be a global medical standard hub with all of its services and expertise, along with scientific research in all of the scientific and research domains. This institution, which is expected to start within the coming few months to be one of the fundamental arms in the Egyptian medical systems. So this is one of the examples. Also, the 500 National Cancer Institution along with another 14 affiliated centers throughout the different governorates. So we will find that this institution can also transform the cancer medications with a quantum leap, with more than 300 clinic and 800 intensive cares, along also with chemical and radioactive treatment through this place that can mitigate the burden of the National Cancer Institution that plays great role in collaboration with the affiliated centers. Also, one of the citadels of education and medication, which is Ain Shams University, and His Excellency ratification to change it to a medical city. So Ain Shams University provides more than 3,600 clinics and with tens and thousands of patients through months and days, with numerous specifications in all of the medical surgeons and consultants who work in collaboration with the medical calibers. If we will talk about Delta and Manufaya Governorate, also we see that the University of Governorate said there was a project to change and to alter the university to provide around 10 million patients with hundreds of clinical and intensive units, along with operation rooms. So this is the investment that's taken place on the Egyptian land, and also for Gabal Galala in the Al-Galala city. And with the direction of His Excellency, the President, we wouldn't have been able to think that Al-Galala can have one of those global international universities in collaboration with all of the well-known world associations. And in the heart of this university, we have the educational hospital that's called Al-Galala Hospital. What you see now, it's actual pictures from reality. They are not virtual. So till this moment, we are contracting with the global entities to manage these hospitals, so we can have this hospital with 577 clinics with more than 50 intensive care units, and also intensive clinics for cancer treatment, along with 10 operation rooms and more than 87 clinic. What you see is just a part of the training and education unit. But again, this was not enough. But Egypt, and through the localizing of medications, to have self-sufficiency of medications through UPA, along with the national companies, on top of which Acdema company and Vexera and Holding vaccine company played their pivotal role in dealing and confronting coronavirus through providing and locally industrializing numerous vaccines. And also we got the national the local Jecto Farm venture with more than 500 billion pounds to support the Egyptian economic, so we can reach to self-sufficiency, as to have 80% of our need to be locally manufactured. And we usually collaborate and cooperate with all of African countries, and I believe that this exhibition conference is a great opportunity to have numerous partnerships that Egypt can, through its promising industrialization, to reach self-sufficiency in collaboration with African continents. The other axis, which is the medical health and medical supplies and medical calibers, we will have around 2011 hospitals. We have around 1,200,000 doctors, along with 125,000 of pharmacists and dentists, more than 15,000 of clinics, so that provide service to 60 million citizens, have played greatly that during encountering the COVID pandemic, we've been able to deal and to cope with these repercussions compared to other countries. And for sure, through the support of the country, to provide around 27 billion Egyptian pounds to boost dealing with the repercussions of the COVID pandemic, either through upscaling the capacity and efficiency of the hospitals, or through manufacturing and industrializing vaccines. And we've seen this through the role model of encountering the COVID. Also, the medical education, which was the main cornerstone of this sector. We have around 43 faculty of medicine and 57 pharmacists, and in our medical system we get around 30,000 graduates annually. Still, this is not sufficient because we have a great scarcity in providing medical service globally, but we spare no effort not only to help in graduating our physicians and specialists, but also to be well trained and well educated. And here we get the great support from His Excellency to support all of the related laboratories and the high educational specifications, to have the AI laboratories and the virtual reality and augmented reality, all of the advanced medical systems that can help in educating and upscaling physicians have been provided. Even the virtual hospitals have been ratified, that we have 3 virtual hospitals to train and to educate all of the medical calibers. Moreover, and in collaboration with international institutions like Royal College of Surgeons in England, we have collaborated with also Harvard University and all of likewise world associations. So as you know, the medical system should be integrated where it has all of the facilities and the ongoing training calibers. The third axis, which is the medical services, what we were just talking about, it was the output, but not the outcome. So the output is everything that's been constructed or provided as activities, but if this wouldn't be changed into outcome, then we have a problem. So we have witnessed 2 issues. Let's start just briefly to let the Egyptian citizen understand and feels the kind and the quality of service on the long term. So we actually start to work on both levels under the guidelines of His Excellency in the past 7 years, when we started to provide the rapid solutions by the presidential initiatives, and for the short and term through the Hayat Karima Decent Life project. So we got 11 presidential presidential initiatives. Maybe compared to the war countries, they were having just 6 or 5. But Egypt has got 11 initiatives that are dealing with all of the age categories and all of the governorates. So we have around 86 million Egyptian pounds have been benefiting with around 19.4 million Egyptian pounds. The level and the kind of service that has been provided, and since today we have Harvey Alter present, which is Nobel Prize laureate, for virus C. So we are proud that we used to suffer from virus C, but with the political will to eliminate this virus, and now we have provided to WHO to announce that Egypt is free of virus C. So to detect around 2.2 million Egyptian pounds with the 3 billion Egyptian pounds and still ongoing. Also for the waiting list mechanism, and when we say that for around 36 Egyptian students, and to also deal with more than 1.4 million women for diagnosis and detection and early detection for breast cancer, and to try to change the family life with this great diagnosis and detections, we'll be able to early detect numerous diseases. And His Excellency has ordered and has given his orders that we wouldn't hunger and we wouldn't stop working. As for the waiting list, patients used to suffer for years from waiting until they get their operation ear surgeries for either cardio or even cancers. Now we have 1,300,000 surgeons have been conducted in the past few years with around 11.3 billion Egyptian pounds. So here we're talking about open cardio operations. We have also cancer treatments, operations. So what we see today and what we witness today is just one of the solutions that can mitigate the pains of the patients, and we are still working in that regard. His Excellency also has asked us to double-check the annual expenditure for such outcomes and how can we minimize the time frame. So now patient can just wait from 2 to 3 weeks to receive his medication and medical services. But again, we've got His Excellency guidelines to minimize this time frame to be just for 1 to 2 weeks. And the annual expenditure will be 1 to 3 billion to achieve such achievements. If we will talk about the revenues, each pound that we have invested or each dollar that we have invested, there is a 2.5% revenues, and also there is a great leverage from the assets as what's been procured by UPA have been now directly operating, because now we have list of daily surgeons. Also, we've got great opportunities for training physicians with around change from 5 to around 15 or 20 operations. So this has played a great role for mitigating pains and minimizing the rates of quality of life. So Egypt, and through WHO, has provided integrated file in the elimination of such viruses. But as for the short-term plan, was a decent life plan. And this is exactly what we try to operate, to provide more than 5 million Egyptian patients that was being provided in 6 governorates, and we provided 10 million service in numerous Egyptian governorates, and we are still working to increase the services. And as for the Decent Life Initiative, which is focused on numerous villages in 20 governorates, so actually Decent life is not just concerning on sewage and related files, but actually also to provide around 24 hospitals and 1,000 ambulances to launch the first phase of the Haya Karima, or decent life. This is what we've been able to accomplish through the Egyptian state, and maybe this is an integrated part of the system by which we can exchange experience to the African countries, but we are still ongoingly working and developing this relentless system, and to restructure and to remodeling the structure, and to work on increasing figures and participation of calibers to have a real integrated system. This is our experience that we can share with our African countries, and those who have wellness, they have everything.
Have the health has the hope, and he who has the hope has everything. أشكركم شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you for attentive listening.
Your Excellency President Al-Sisi, Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank Your Excellency for your strong commitment and leadership, which has galvanized a global movement towards the diagnosis, treatment, care,
أجل صحة أفضل من الكشف والرعاية الصحية وإزالة التهاب الكبدي الوبائي جيم. لقد أصاب هذا المرض أكثر من 1,100,000 شخص، ويعيش الملايين من الناس يعيشون بالتهاب الكبد الوبائي، وقد تم عمل الكثير في خفض معدلات التهاب الكبد الوبائي جيم وب أيضا في أفريقيا، وهذا يعني أننا نحرز تقدم في خفض سرطانات الكبد وتليف الكبد، إلا أن العديد من البلدان والأقاليم لا زالوا ليس لديهم إمكانية الوصول إلى هذا العلاج، ولذلك توجد العديد من الاستراتيجيات ضد وباء الكبد الوبائي جيم وب وأيضا وباء الإيدز، وتم خفض بمعدلات كثيرة. لدينا الأدوات لكي نصل إلى الأهداف المطلوبة، وهي هدف خفضها بدرجة 90%. المهم أن يصل الجميع إلى إمكانية العلاج، ونتطلع إلى هذا اليوم الذي تقوم فيه منظمة الصحة العالمية بالوصول إلى نفس الدرجات and
achieve the same levels of Egyptian experience in combating hepatitis virus. And with your collaboration, we can achieve this. And again, we salute you for your endeavors. Thank you. Your Excellency, President Fattah al-Sisi, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished attendees, now I will leave you with this dialogue where we have the discussion of the African experts to exchange opinions and experience. This session comes under the title of Towards Flexible and Sustainable African Medical Cities, where will we get and dive in the medical and medicine files and the contents, and how to reach to integration file that we can achieve the interests of the African population. And we would like to notify you that this session will be divided into two parts. We will start with the first part. Now I'll call Dr. Constantino Shwenga, the Zimbabwe and Minister for Health. Dr. Harvey J. Alter, who has awarded Nobel and the hepatitis virus experiment explorer. Dr. Muhammad Awad Tajuddin, the State Consultant for Health and Wellness. Dr. Aniva Bangrana, Minister for Ugandan Health. The session will be moderated by Dr. Khalid Abdel Ghaffar, the Minister of Education and the Acting Minister for Housing and Health. In the name of Almighty God, I'd like to ask you, Your Excellency, to have this dialogue session. And in the first part of this session, we are concerned with tackling the African medical systems and sustainability of these systems and how we reach to flexible systems. So in this session, we have Dr. Constantino Chwanga and the Zimbabwe Presidential Vice, and he's also the Minister of Health, and Professor Harvey Alter, the Nobel awarded in medicine in 2020, and Professor Muhammad Awad Tagildeen, advisor to the President for Health and Prevention Affairs, along with Dr. Anifa Bangona, Minister of Health for Uganda. This is the first part of our panel discussion.
And guests, ministers, it's indeed a great pleasure for me to have you here today. And we are talking about this panel discussion.
So we have this panel discussion which will focus on medical and sustainable health through upgrading the medical suppliers in Africa, along with the endeavors in that regard. So allow me to start by addressing my first question. So I'd like to address my first question to Dr. Constantino Chwanga, and he's the Zimbabwe Presidential Vice. So from your point of view, what are the priorities of African medical sector, and how can we arrange those priorities in light of the political stance in the world, and particularly in Africa, which has its reflective impact on medical systems?
I will say it again in English.
And in your opinion also, what are the requirements in Africa from the world manufacturing companies? What are the priorities of the medical sector, and how can we arrange those priorities, taking into consideration the political stance? A lot of what we're witnessing worldwide, and what would you ask for the international organizations and world medical associations in that regards? Your Excellency, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, honorable guests, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in Africa, we have learned a serious lesson. what's most importantly in what we need support to build our health sector in Africa. And when I say that we've learned a serious lesson, so this was through this pandemic that we have all encountered. Especially just right after we get rid from AIDS, HIV, and right after we have been threatened by pandemic, but again to talk about the support that we need for the developing countries. So we found ourselves as part of this group because most of our populations who have been trained by the usage of these limited resources that we have.
Conditions of service
and we were not able to provide high condition of service in terms of accommodation, in terms of transportation, and in terms of other facilities of the services that we are required to provide.
But to the developed world,
however, for the developed countries, these mechanisms and prerequisites were available. Here in after we have been threatened by corona pandemic,
those we depended on
and we've been impacted in our livelihood aspects where we found it tough to provide, especially through the crisis. And we have got scarcity of capitals and services, along with the poor quality of service. Hence, the support that we need is to train our experts that we have lost them and they have just traveled to the developed countries. We also need to deal with the situation which is affecting our own people in terms of water and in terms of sanitation.
we want to learn,
So we want to learn, particularly since our existence and presence here in Egypt as Egypt has managed through these so little resources and with exploiting so little water to defeat these diseases that are accompanying water consumption, and especially with the water situation that has been raised, and Egypt has been capable to defeat all of the related issues. So I hope that we will learn a lot in this area, because this area is really in need where we should learn, because most of us need to learn from Egypt.
Very little water.
That's how through very little water, through this river Nile, which is still very little, but Egypt has been able to deal with this situation. We also would like to say that in order to deal with this situation, we need to have our own and our self-sufficiency in every field and in everything that we do, especially in medicine and medications. So if we will be able, and especially as we witnessed in the documented movie,
إذا تمكنا
Make our drugs
من صناعة أدويتنا وصناعة اللقاحات في أفريقيا،
we would have
حينئذ سنقول أننا تمكنا من تحقيق إنجاز كبير.
we can see
يمكننا
life expectancy
أن نرى
expectance in our life. We can see that through age categories, we need to improve the African life cycle. And in Zimbabwe, we would like to be part of joint ventures with Egypt
the pharmaceutical
in terms of the pharmaceutical field to address
من أجل مواجهة التحديات
the challenges
التي نواجهها
that we are subject to in Africa.
في أفريقيا وكأفريقيا. إذن
we can
Subsequently,
حينئذ
we
سنتمكن
can be able to deal with the potential situations through our region,
Southern African
مع
especially in the Southern African
الإقليمي لدينا
regional
وعلى مستوى
situation
اللجنة الأفريقية،
and the
ولكن
Southern
يمكننا
African
أن نذهب
Committee,
إلى وأبعد من
but
ذلك
we even can be part of the sharing experience to our brotherly countries.
back to those people who had been
And through the various oceans and borders, we can be able to get back to support and to help those who are supporting us, those who we rely to have support from. So now we can change the situation and the client to be able to supply and to develop
تطوير
vaccine
any vaccine
وإمداد أي لقاح أو دواء
and supply any vaccine or any required medications or any pharmaceuticals to any potential diseases. Thank you so much.
والآن يعني سعداء جدا
And now, and actually we're so happy to have Professor Alti Harvard.
طبيب أمريكي
He's American scientist and physician in virus, and he has been awarded Nobel Prize in the organs medicine in 2020. He has been reputed for his great endeavor that lasted for more than 4 years to explore the virus of hepatitis virus, and he's the head of the virus section in numerous centers like NIH in Maryland State.
هارفي جيمس
Dr. Harvey James Alter,
في عام
who was born in 1935, who educated in Rochester, New York University. He has been awarded his medicine degree in the same university, and then he joined University Towson, and then he joined Washington DC, and then he joined NIH, and since '64, our honorable dentist, our honorable scientist, who has started to help humanity, where he's been able to explore this virus that was in on Earth since 2,000 years ago, and has caused the fatality of dozens of mankind and infected all people in the world. And we in Egypt were suffering this disease, as His Excellency the President has stated, and maybe through numerous years of numerous endeavors started since 1964, along with exploring the Australian antigen virus B. And in 1970, when he witnessed cases where we got no reason behind the kidney-related repercussions, and they were not related to neither virus A or virus B, and through providing blood transfer to some of the patients. So here started the question through numerous laboratories, where he started to work through since 1970 till he has explored in 1989 the new hepatitis, which has been known as hepatitis C or virus C. So we've learned from this great scientist through his experience and research as a role model for the world scientists. So please help me to salute our great scientist Harvey Halter. My question to Professor Harvey, part of it will be on how has he just summed up his life in just 3 minutes to tell us about his life experience, how he has been able to come to this exploration that has changed the repercussions of mankind. The second question, that he's been awarded Nobel Prize in virus C, and since Egypt has been suffering a lot from this disease, but through the intensive program to eliminate virus C in Egypt, through providing and through having a comprehensive diagnosis for millions of Egyptians, and to provide medication and related medicines to liver-related diseases. How do you see this experience, and how to maximize this experience for the sake of the African countries? The floor is yours, Professor Alfie Arden. Thank you so much. First of all, let me express how honored I am to be part of this event and to meet His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for the first time in my life. And in regards to the Prize Nobel Award, maybe I can just sum up the 50 years of work in just 3 minutes. Let me just say that at the beginning there was no real vision on how can we accomplish this. So I used to work for the National Medical Center just as one of these youth physicians. With my humble experience, I've been honored to collaborate with Professor Wimble, and we worked together on the antigens. And we worked together in the file of hepatitis virus. And after some of the practice and training sessions, I started to practice. So I got back to working in research and scientific research in the 70s. And I was concerned to see how can we get, what are the integrated related parts in the hepatitis virus. We found that 30% of those who provide the cardiosurgeons, they are infected by the silent hepatitis virus. And then we started to follow the situation.
حتى لو لم يكن
And
لديهم
even if
أمراض
they haven't got
هامة في البداية كنا
specific
نتابعهم.
symptoms at the beginning, we used to still follow these cases. And we got through the notion of altering the individuals from donors to non-financial donors. And to take the patient cases and to study these cases very intensively, as to get to this kind of the unknown virus. And we found that the virus was just different from virus C and virus B. So we got another antigen virus that's impacting and causing most of the diseases that we have explored. So we've learned that we will get another surrounded fatty cell virus, and we get to virus RNA, which is associated, and that's been associated through Dr. Harun and his association to develop a kind of a test to test the hepatitis virus or H virus C. And found that it was not C and it was not B. So we found that there was a common result on testing both viruses. And this was maybe the end of the first part of having a solution for the virus. So we detected the virus and to eliminate HSC, which usually associated with the blood transforming operations, and we wouldn't imagine that we will have such good results and just within 2 to 3 weeks we can just destroy the virus. This again was not out of science fiction, it was reality on the ground. So from the pharmaceutical industry we started to have the pharmaceutical institutions and associations have helped to provide great milestones. So till this moment now, if we will get any virus C patient, we can just easily cure them. So again,
when you have great tests, we don't need better tests. They're not very much better. We don't need very much better drugs. We have them. What we need is the ability to find people who have silent HCV infection and to get the drugs to them. And no one has achieved that the way Egypt has achieved that. Tested over 40 million people, maybe it's 50 million people by now, found out who was positive for antibody, took those people, tested them for virus, the virus itself, an enormous effort to do that, and then treated everybody with drugs that were prepared here in Egypt. So the whole spectrum of, it starts from the top. You need the president, you need the minister of health, you need the healthcare industry, you need pharmacy, you need people to go out into the field. Egypt has done that, so it's become the model. And I think we're here to see, because we now have the proof of how this can happen. And the ideal now is to do this in every country in Africa and throughout the world. And I tell you how hard it is in a country with lots of money. In America, we have not done this. We have been unable. We're just starting to treat our own population. So Egypt must be very proud. It's really an enormous accomplishment. And now Egypt is offering help to other countries, offering tests, offering vaccine. But what needs to be done is to get the president of each country and the ministers of health of each country and the ministers of education to start the process country by country by country. It can be done. I can feel the hope in the room. The possibilities are here. And it's up to you. It's up to you to go back to your own countries to get this to happen. If it does, it'll be a miracle. But it can be done. So thank you very, very much. It's a real privilege to be here.
Well, I think I have to ask you one more question. يعني الحقيقة هو يمكن شرح الموضوع ببساطة شديدة جدا.
You have just very simply illustrated the situation, but again he stated that he has been encountered with lots of challenges and lots of frustration situations.
And you also mentioned that there is no elevators to success and you have to take the stairs. Can you talk to us about these two stations in your life? هو كان بيقول ان ما فيش حد بيطلع النجاح بمصعد كهربائي، ولكن النجاح لابد أن يتم من خلال صعود سلالم طويلة. 50 سنة من العمل في البحث، مش كل المرات كان بيطلع بنفس النتائج. ممكن يقعد يشتغل 3 سنين أو 4 سنين ثم يفوجئ إن كل اللي بنى عليه أفكاره طلع غلط.
Work for 3 years and then he come to a situation where he just found that everything he was working on was fault and just to repeat the cycle from scratch. So I was asking him about the poems he was writing about depression.
Well, I'm going to talk this afternoon and show slides of what I've tried to summarize in a short time, the whole story from the beginning and the end of hepatitis C. But along the way, I've written different poems to talk about different aspects of this discovery as we went along. So this afternoon I will give 2 poems. One is, I think that I shall never see this virus called non-A, non-B. And the other one is an ode to hepatitis C, which I will say at the end. But I found that poetry has been a good way to get people to laugh and but to get the point as well. So that's been my modus operandi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we move to Her Excellency Hanifa Bangwira, the Minister of Health, Republic of Uganda. صاحبة السعادة السيدة حنيفة كوية بن جرانا وزيرة الدولة للصحة بأوغندا. وسؤالي لمعالي الوزيرة، وهي سياسية أوغندية عملت كممثلة للمرأة في كثير من الأوقات من خلال عضويتها بالبرلمان الأوغندي، وأيضا عملت كمندوبة في الجمعية التأسيسية وشغلت مناصب عديدة في تنفيذية في المجلس الوطني للمرأة. سؤالي لمعالي الوزيرة وهو خلال فترة التعافي من جائحة كورونا يقف قادة الصحة في العالم بين مطرقة التهديدات الصحية وسندان الاحتياجات الصحية والتي تتطلب تخطيطا واستعدادا مستقبليا أكثر توازنا من منطق منصب سيادتك كوزيرة
So from your own point of view as a Minister of Health, from political view, what would we need to maintain and to ensure sustainability of the medical systems, and what is required to convince political leaders in African continent to put on top of their priorities and agendas, especially within the darkest time? The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Excellency, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Egypt, distinguished Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, protocol observed. To put the record right, I'm not a doctor. I am the Minister of State General Duties in the government of the Republic of Uganda, but I have a long, wide experience as a politician, 30 years in the legislative body of Uganda as a member of parliament, 5 years as a member of the Pan-African Parliament, and I'm a gender activist. And in the health sector, I am one of the passionate members in my country. Your Excellencies, I'm happy to be here and to be part of this historical event. As the question is put that how, as a minister, do I look to see sustainability of the health services the post-COVID-19. Your Excellencies, COVID-19 pandemic has significantly impacted and weakened all country systems all over the world, the livelihoods, and more so the developing countries. The pandemic has caused social and economic crises characterized by immense unemployment, increased impoverishment, and the excavation of longest-ending inequities. On the other side, COVID-19 brought us together as one people. It was a unifying factor, and the reason I think we are here unified for a purpose and a cause to ensure improved sustainability in the health service care services. Your Excellencies, now that COVID has diminished, countries need to take advantage of the phase to regain strength and lobby for resources to build resilient health system, health care. However, as we do that, we should not forget that our country's economies also were affected and slowed down. We need to have now the experience of surveillance and predicting the trends of the machine must not only go to sleep, but we must all work together. We must walk the talk together, all of us. There is no member state that can walk the talk alone as an individual if we have sustained our goals to ensure that there is health care systems that have got infrastructures that can be sustainable. Believe me, you or not, official path recovery is a very delicate one. We need to balance our efforts of resources. Much of our resources in our member states, much of our budgets goes towards defense. Yes, we all want security for our people, security for our property, but we all know that health is life, health is wealth. You can't secure a sick population. Therefore, we need to put much resources towards the health sector. Once again, however, this stage of the pandemic, countries also need to invest in more of the availability of essential health care services. We must walk the talk, and one must keep build back better approach. We need to achieve the immunization, coverage, better antenatal coverage, better postnatal coverage, better ARTs, among others. But we again wish to push our governments. We should not forget that the government should also look to how to accelerate our post-economic growth after the COVID era. It is now at this early age that early recovery and transition of long-term recovery to ensure that sustainability in the health sector services is a must-have. All of us must ensure that we are together into this. COVID-19 has definitely shown the world that investments in health system translates into economic progress. This is the only way we can go. We need to invest in global health security, disease surveillance, and preparedness, as my other participants have said. We need to rethink our health promotion and health education and provide social vaccination where the population accepts the trust and the official proven information. Therefore, accurate collection of data and sharing is a must-have in the continent. We must use community resources, persons, to provide best health promotion and referrals. We must have a referral health system that transits back into our populations. We must ensure human resource for health is adequate funded. As I've already said, We should look for efficiency and savings in the health sector. Finally, we need to prioritize vaccine access by all citizens. We saw it during this pandemic. We were not prepared. We didn't have vaccine at hand. It's a must prioritize vaccines access by all and together. Massive campaign for vaccination against COVID and other immunizable diseases, improve nutrition of citizens to build our own immunity. We must have healthy communities. We must encourage research and innovation as Africans to produce vaccines for our people instead of waiting to get vaccines from the developed countries. We saw how it hampered to all of us. It's the time that we must put all our efforts together as a continent to ensure that we invest so much in vaccination productions. Funding of all budgets must be improved continentally. Lastly, it is my humble request that if we have to have sustainable health system, a sustainable health community, sustainable West Africans, a population that is not under-impoverished, we must walk that talk together. We must all invest in the health service sector. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. والآن مع أستاذنا الأستاذ الدكتور محمد عوض تاج الدين
the Presidential Advice for Protection and Health. For sure, he's a great scientist in the respiratory diseases, and he's on top of the scientists, the professors of Ain Shams University. He has joined numerous positions as the president of Ain Shams University, and now he's the presidential advisor for the health and protection. Now I call His Excellency to participate with us in this interactive panel discussion about the African diseases and how to deal with, and how Egypt can support the brotherly African countries. The floor is yours. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, President Fattah al-Sisi, we wouldn't have got such conference without presenting my sincere gratitude. And due to what Egypt has witnessed recently in the healthcare sector, and what we have achieved has never been witnessed prior to this, and we've been witnessing for quite a long time, witnessing the spectacular, endless problems of the health sector. And for sure it would still last because we have a great excess increase for population, so this is potentially expected. But what we have achieved, and this is not a personal point of view as an Egyptian citizen, but this is by the world acknowledgement that what we have dealt with through Corona and with the repercussions of the Ukrainian Russian war prove the relentless will and the relentless political will that hasn't ever been in supporting medical sector. Medical sector is not about just hospitals and medications. The weight and the reclamation of weight and the silos, the electricity, transportation, all of these just directly affect health sector. In the past 3 days, I was trying to study the common treasure. I found that there have been some great figures due to your great guidelines. What we have witnessed in Corona and the great achievement that's been provided by all of the Egyptian-related entities with the great armed forces in collaboration with the police, governments, His Excellency Prime Minister, who has spared no efforts to support the medical sector. We have to acknowledge that this was a great success. Now, getting back to the question of His Excellency the Minister of Housing and Health, Africa is suffering greatly. Africa is combining numerous diseases. Yes, we can cure and we can even eliminate. And I can give two examples for a couple of those diseases. So till this moment, we still have the TB, still around 500 African citizens lose their lives due to the TB. And there is around also 95% of malaria patients are in Africa, and 96% of those who lose their lives due to malaria also are in Africa, but still it's curable. And maybe in one of the Geneva WHO sessions, there was a session for one of the well-known experts. He was talking about the HIV, which is also in Africa. So I stated, and I said, right, what about malaria? What about tuberculosis, which is still causing disease for Africans? And maybe we can get the vaccines for malaria. Maybe the average of children who lose their lives in the first year or even in the fifth year of their life cycle is the highest in Africa. Also for the pregnant who lose their lives in Africa is the highest. Even for the monkeypox virus is also emerging from Africa and then started to prevail everywhere. Your Excellency, we've tried our hardest to work through our executive roles through universities or medical sectors. We try to have Africa, and maybe there is Anas al-Wugud vessel in Nasser Lake that has the protection for Northern Sudan and Egypt, and we can state that we have no malaria infected cases in Egypt. And also as for the new cases for tuberculosis, for the past 7 years, we have great improvement in the tuberculosis, and the average age category for Egyptians and in Africa, as you know, the average age is around 60-something or 50-something, and even in other countries, 30-something. In some countries, the average of children, the fatality is the greatest for sure. Also, diarrhea and typhoid diseases, they are all prevalent in Africa. But Your Excellency has guided us with lots of things that we now can feel or can reap its fruits. And as you know, the pharmaceutical city is now producing. Your Excellency has asked us to localize the new drugs, and we started on this. So now we have productivity for lots of products, along with the Japanese and sales companies for the localizing of cancer and tumor drugs. Also have great human capitals. So when we just announced about this conference, there is no Egyptian physician or Egyptian professor who asked to join and to participate. We have tens of hundreds of human capital. We have great medical indicators that are performing positively in all sectors. But again, for the African human age, average age is improving. So this year we have around 72 to 0.38%, and we hope that also males and females will get their required medical services, and we have annual improvement. And again, talking about Africa, Africa is suffering and will continue suffering. And we have all seen the chairperson of African Union when he was talking about we may find excessive African poverty and African famine. So we have all to take the steps. We all have to make use of the great capacities that we have. But again, I need to say that Africa requires to have a relentless African decision, and I believe that Your Excellency can lead this list of decisions to secure Africa, which is in need for being secured. Thank you so much. I also would like to say that we have great ties with Africa, resembled in the River Nile, the great River Nile that links us with Africa. Thank you so much. Now, and since we've come to the end of the first part of the panel discussion entitled the sustainability for medical systems, I would ask you kindly to have a short break and then to get back to the second part of the panel discussion about the role of the international companies and local companies along with the world companies for contributing in the pharmaceutical sector. Thank you.
وهكذا سيداتي وسادتي تكون قد انقضت الجلسة